The dining room smelled of roasted chicken and garlic bread, laughter echoing faintly around the long wooden table. It was supposed to be a peaceful family meal. A rare moment, where everyone gathered under one roof without work, stress, or quarrels hanging over them. Plates clinked, wine glasses were lifted, and small talk filled the air. I sat across from my wife, Emily, trying to push aside the uneasiness that had been gnawing at me for weeks. There was always something in her eyes when her phone buzzed. Something distant. Something she quickly buried whenever I caught her gaze. Tonight, I prayed dinner would be different, that the nagging suspicions in my mind were just paranoia. But as the room quieted, Emily cleared her throat. She placed her fork down deliberately, her movements slow and steady, commanding everyone's attention. Her eyes locked onto mine, and in that moment, I felt a strange chill crawl up my spine. Then she said it. Words so sharp, so brazen, they cut through the room like glass shattering. My ex will forever remain a part of my life. If you don't accept that, then maybe this marriage isn't strong enough to survive. The table went silent. My mother froze with her glass mid-air. My brother's fork slipped from his hand, clattering loudly against his plate. Every eye was on me, waiting for my reaction. My heart hammered inside my chest. I forced a breath, trying to steady myself, but it felt as if the air had been knocked out of me. She didn't just say it casually. She declared it with conviction, as though daring me to challenge her. In that moment, I realized this dinner wasn't just about food or family. It was a battleground. And Emily had just drawn the first line. The room stayed frozen after Emily's declaration, as if time itself had stopped to witness the wreckage. Her words echoed in my head again and again. My ex will forever remain a part of my life. I swallowed hard. My throat suddenly dry. The woman I loved, the one I had trusted with my soul, had just placed her past in the center of our marriage and lit it like a torch. My mother was the first to break the silence. She gently placed her glass on the table and looked at Emily with narrowed eyes. "Are you saying," she asked softly, her tone controlled but firm, "that your husband's place in your heart is negotiable?" Emily straightened her shoulders, almost defensive. "I'm saying that my past shaped who I am. My ex was a big part of that. I won't pretend he doesn't exist just to make anyone comfortable." Her gaze flicked toward me again, almost accusing. I clenched my fists under the table. Memories flooded back. How I had comforted her through nights of crying over that very ex. How I had promised her that with me, she'd never have to look back. And now, she was placing him in the middle of our present, as if he had some right to be there. My brother leaned back in his chair and muttered under his breath, "This is insane." His words, though quiet, carried through the silence like sparks ready to ignite a fire. I finally spoke, my voice steady, but trembling beneath the weight of anger I tried to control. "Emily, you're not just talking about a memory. You're asking me to accept another man inside our marriage. Do you even realize what you're saying?" Her lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile, wasn't quite a sneer. "I'm asking you to accept all of me, including the parts you may not like." It was a test. I knew it. A challenge thrown like a gauntlet in the middle of that dinner table. And as I looked at her, my wife, who had just turned my worst fear into reality, I realized this was no longer a private marital conflict. She had chosen to make it public. She wanted witnesses. And I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of watching me break. The tension at the table had reached its breaking point. The clinking of silverware stopped, plates sat untouched, and the smell of roasted chicken, once inviting, now seemed heavy in the air. My father leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Emily," he said firmly, "a marriage is built on loyalty. You can't stand here, in front of your husband's family, and tell him he has to share your heart with another man." Emily's eyes flashed with defiance. "With all due respect, this is my marriage. Not yours. I love your son, but I will never erase my past just to satisfy an outdated idea of marriage." Gasps whispered around the table. My aunt whispered something under her breath. My brothers scoffed openly. and even my little niece looked up at me with wide, confused eyes. I felt my chest tightening. My wife, my partner, was drawing a line in the sand. Not only between me and her, but between her and everyone at that table. My mother, usually the calmest in the family, raised her voice for the first time. Outdated. She repeated, her tone sharp. Respect, loyalty, and commitment are not outdated, young lady. They are the foundation of a marriage. If you wanted to keep another man's shadow in your home, you should not have married our son. Emily's fork clattered against her plate as she slammed it down. You don't get to tell me who I am. I married your son because I love him. But my ex will always be part of my story. And if that's too much for any of you, then maybe he's not strong enough to be my husband. Her words cut like a blade. My family turned to me, their eyes filled with a mixture of pity and expectation. They wanted me to answer. To stand up. To defend myself. And deep down, a storm raged inside me. I had stayed silent long enough. I had let her set the stage, play her part, and humiliate me in front of everyone I loved. But something in me was breaking, snapping like a fragile thread stretched too tight. It was no longer about her ex. It was about respect. About dignity. About the man I had chosen to be. I placed my napkin slowly on the table. My hands steady though my heart was pounding. Enough, I said, my voice low but commanding. The room fell silent again. Everyone turned to me. Even Emily's confident expression faltered for the first time. Enough. I repeated, my voice steady, cutting through the heavy silence. My heart hammered in my chest, but my mind had never felt clearer. Emily narrowed her eyes, her confidence wavering. What do you mean? Enough. I looked directly at her, refusing to flinch. You've humiliated me in front of my entire family, declaring that another man will forever have a place in your life. But what you didn't expect is that the truth you've been hiding has already reached me. Gasps rippled through the table. My brother leaned forward, my mother clutched her chest, and my father's jaw tightened like stone. Emily froze, color draining from her face. What truth? She asked, her voice cracking slightly, betraying the confidence she had worn like armor all evening. I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table toward her. On the screen was a photo. Emily, just a week ago, sitting in a cafe with her ex, leaning close, holding his hand as though no one in the world mattered but him. My aunt covered her mouth in shock. My cousin muttered, unbelievable. Emily's face flushed crimson. It's not what it looks like, she stammered. We were just talking. Talking? I shot back, my voice sharper now. You called it closure. But closure doesn't look like secret meetups. Closure doesn't look like whispers and late night messages you hide from me. Closure doesn't make you mock your husband at dinner just to prove a point. The room buzzed with whispers. My family's eyes darted from Emily to me, waiting for the final blow. Emily's composure shattered. She stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. So what if I met him? You think I should cut out a part of my life just to make you feel secure? I stood too, my voice calm but cold. No, Emily. I think you should have chosen. You can't keep your past alive and expect me to accept it as part of my future. The silence was suffocating. My mother shook her head in disappointment. My father muttered something about betrayal, and my brother glared at Emily with open disdain. Emily's eyes darted around the table, searching for someone, anyone, to take her side. But no one did. She had come into this dinner ready to assert control, to make me look small. Instead, the truth had cornered her. And for the first time that evening, I saw fear in her eyes. Emily's breathing was shallow, her face pale, but I didn't let her speak first. You think meeting your ex was the worst thing I know? I said, my voice steady and controlled, though anger boiled beneath. No, Emily. What I uncovered goes far beyond coffee dates and secret messages. My words hung in the air like a knife waiting to fall. My father leaned forward, brows furrowed. Son, what are you saying? I reached into my pocket again and placed a stack of printed documents on the table. Slowly, I slid them across to Emily. Her trembling hands refused to touch them. These. I explained, turning to my family. Are copies of hotel receipts. Reservations made under Emily's name, but not just for one person. For two. And not months ago, last week. The room erupted in shocked gasps. My aunt whispered, "Oh my God." My cousin shook her head in disbelief. My brother muttered a curse under his breath. Emily's face drained of all color. "That's not true. Someone must have set me up." I cut her off sharply. "Don't lie, Emily. The manager confirmed it was you. You even signed with your ID. I gave you a chance to be honest, but instead, you humiliated me in front of everyone by declaring your ex would always have a place in your life. And now," I pointed at the papers, "we all know what you really meant." Emily staggered back, her hands shaking. You didn't think I'd find out." I finished coldly. Silence fell across the table. Even the clinking of silverware had stopped. Every eye was on Emily, who looked like a cornered animal, desperate for an escape. Finally, my mother's voice broke the silence, thick with emotion. "How could you do this, Emily? To him. To all of us." Emily shook her head violently, her voice rising with desperation. "You don't understand. He was my first love. He knows me in ways no one else does?" I was confused. I slammed my hand on the table, making everyone jump. "Confused? You vowed to build a life with me. You said I was your future. But instead, you dragged your past into our present and shattered everything we built together." Tears spilled down her cheeks, but no one rushed to comfort her. Not this time. For years, I had defended her, trusted her, believed in her. But now, with her betrayal exposed under the harsh light of truth, she was utterly alone. And in that moment, as she stood shaking before the family she had tried to manipulate, I knew she finally realized what she had lost. But I wasn't done. Not yet. The dining room felt heavy, as if the walls themselves carried the weight of betrayal. Emily stood trembling, her mascara streaked down her face, while the damning documents lay between us like a weapon. For a long moment, no one moved, no one spoke. Everyone waited for my next words. I finally broke the silence. "Emily, I gave you everything. My love, my trust, my loyalty. And you repaid me with lies and deceit. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed this entire family." Her lips quivered. "Please, I can change. We can fix this. Don't throw us away." I let out a bitter laugh. "You already did that the moment you chose your ex over your vows. You stood here tonight, in front of everyone, and told me that he would always be part of your life. That was your truth. Don't beg for mercy now that your lies are exposed." She reached for me, but I stepped back, my voice cold as steel. "I don't share. I don't compete for a place in my own wife's heart. You made your choice, now live with it." Gasps rippled across the table. My mother clasped her hands, relief and sorrow mixing in her eyes. My father gave a firm nod of approval. Emily fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "Please, don't do this. I have nowhere else to go." I looked down at her. This woman who had once been my everything, and felt nothing but the hollow ache of disappointment. She had played with fire, and now she was burning alone. "I'm done," I said quietly but firmly. "You are no longer my wife." With that, I turned and walked away, leaving her on the floor. My family rose with me, their presence like a shield. For the first time in years, I felt free. Behind me, Emily's sobs echoed, but I didn't look back. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing even a flicker of hesitation. Because some betrayals don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve an ending, and this was hers.